The crisp autumn breeze swept across the parking lot of Trump's campaign headquarters in Palm Beach, Florida, as Karoline Leavitt, the freshly appointed White House press secretary under the Trump administration, emerged from the morning meeting. The atmosphere was alive with energy even as the sun began to peek over the horizon. As she went over her speech in the White House office in Washington, D.C., her phone buzzed repeatedly, eliciting an exasperated, "Oh my God." The internal communication system she had requested that afternoon highlighted an unusual message on the forum. "Does anyone have any remnants from yesterday's gathering? I am willing to put in additional hours for trading." The note from Emily Carter left Karoline momentarily stunned. The urgency hidden beneath courteous expressions was undeniable. Before we embark on this narrative journey, please share your location in the comments and remember to subscribe to stay updated on the latest tales. Since the morning, an unsettling feeling had lingered after concluding a strategy session with senior advisors in Palm Beach. As she stood by the entrance gate, she took a moment to engage in conversation with Jake, the young security guard. "How's your little girl?" she inquired. "She has little sleep, yet we manage just fine." "She's a good kid, ma'am," Jake said, a weary smile crossing his face. Such exchanges were becoming increasingly significant to Karoline, not for appearances but because of a nagging discomfort. In the office, her assistant Hannah stood ready with a meticulously organized schedule. "The advisory team wants to discuss media strategy," Hannah began, but Karoline interrupted. "To begin, please provide me with the complete raw data from last month's staff morale report." "Is there anything in particular?" Hannah inquired. "Something feels off, but I can't quite put my finger on it yet," Karoline responded. Gaze traversing digits. The morning flew by, filled with meetings, media strategies, voter data, and donor calls, all part of the familiar cadence of a team that had recently secured Trump's victory. Yet, beyond the office glass, her gaze remained fixated on the team. "Are you all right, Michael?" the HR head inquired during the lunch break. "How well do we truly understand them after they depart from this place?" she challenged. She commanded the setup of the new communication system. "I wish to keep an eye on the forum messages, identify health concerns and difficulties. I require direct access, though it may come across as intrusive," as Michael cautioned. "Not to invade, but to comprehend," she emphasized, beaming. "I've always preferred to forge my own way." The system activated immediately, gathering information as she engaged with the teams. As night fell and the day shift departed, she lingered, a hunch grounding her even in the absence of appointments. The internal messages usually consisted of trivial complaints about the coffee machine and light-hearted jokes regarding Trump's ex-posts, but then Emily's message appeared, causing Karoline to freeze in her tracks. There was something in the way it was expressed, the urgency cleverly concealed within polished language, the proposition to exchange time for sustenance that held her captive. "Retrieve Emily Carter's file," she instructed. The expansive display in front of her illuminated with intricate details. Emily was part of the data analysis team for the Trump campaign at the Palm Beach headquarters. She was brought on board over a year ago and has maintained an impeccable record, receiving high praise from her superiors. As Karoline reviewed her recorded hours, she exclaimed, "No way, Hannah," calling out loudly, aware that her assistant was still at her desk nearby. Hannah stepped into view at the threshold. "Indeed, ma'am, is the time data for Emily Carter precise?" Hannah glanced at her tablet with urgency. "Indeed, she has been working tirelessly for more than 3 months, from early mornings to late nights, with hardly any time to rest." Karoline reclined, her thoughts swirling in a tumultuous dance. Retrieve her list of tasks. Additional data has emerged. Emily consistently delivered intricate voter analysis reports, always ahead of deadlines, even with an overwhelming workload. While her salary aligned with the typical expectations for the position, it was a particular note that caused Karoline to frown. Emily's raise review was scheduled for last month, but she opted to postpone it. "Someone tirelessly producing exceptional outcomes, pleading for a few extra hours," Karoline whispered. "Please provide the camera feed from her workspace." The image appeared suddenly. A young woman leaned over a computer, her dark hair tied up in a messy bun, tired eyes prominent in the grainy footage. She rubbed her eyes, glanced at her phone, and then quickly returned to her work. "Excuse me, Miss Hannah?" Hannah's voice wavered. "Should we forward this to HR?" Karoline remained fixated on the screen. Emily lifted the vacant coffee cup, gazed at it with a hint of melancholy, and then placed it back down. "Absolutely not," she stated with conviction. "This stands apart. I must find a way to resolve this on my own." She reactivated the internal forum. Emily's message went unanswered. The night crew had dwindled, the break room was silent and dark, and the cursor pulsed steadily in the reply box. She could deliver food to Emily's desk at this very moment, yet her instincts whispered that this situation transcended mere nourishment. Hannah, where could she be? A couple of quick keystrokes revealed the HQ map, Section D, Desk 312. She has been present since the beginning of the night shift. Karoline stood, smoothing her coat with a thoughtful gesture. Please cancel all my morning meetings with the exception of the media team call. She approached the door, then hesitated. What about Hannah? Gather all available information on Emily Carter, including her employee file, social media presence, public records, and any other relevant details. Hannah gave a slight nod. What is it that we seek? Karoline cast her eyes back to the screen once more. Emily had just retrieved a small photo from her drawer, gazing at it with a sense of nostalgia before quickly putting it away as a colleague walked by. It is the truth, she answered plainly. The truth is essential. Her phone vibrated once more, signaling a fresh message from Emily on the forum. Forget about the food. I'm doing well. I apologize for the interruption. That retraction only strengthened Karoline's determination. A troubling sense of unease gnawed at her, compelling her to uncover the truth. She reclined in her chair, thoughts swirling around her head. Throughout her entire experience with Trump, from the campaign trail to the White House, nothing had ever felt quite like this moment. Perhaps it was Emily's withdrawal, the subtle pride in concealing her challenges, or the feeling that she symbolized a larger fracture within the group. Time dragged on. Karoline returned to her tasks, yet her gaze continually wandered to the camera feed. Emily remained still, her concentration unwavering even in the face of her evident hunger. Suddenly, her phone illuminated with an update from Hannah. Karoline perused the pages, her confusion deepening. 3 months ago, Emily's presence on social media disappeared, aligning with her descent into an overwhelming workload. Public records indicated a shift from a respectable apartment to a less desirable neighborhood, and notably, there were consistent payments to an unknown medical facility. Elements were aligning, yet the image remained elusive. At last, the camera captured Emily organizing her desk, arranging papers with precision, and powering down her computer. Despite the long hours, she maintained a sense of order. Karoline rose, clutching her coat. John, she reached out through a phone call. Prepare the vehicle and maintain discretion. As she strolled through the nearly deserted corridors of HQ, a sense of gravity surrounded her impending decision. Tracking an employee to their residence was not merely uncommon, it had the potential to ignite debate, particularly for someone in the role of a press secretary. As Emily's tired silhouette made its way through the exit, a sense of urgency washed over her, compelling her to take action. Hannah's last update arrived. Emily submitted her application for emergency financial assistance during the very week her overwhelming workload commenced. At times, as she entered the car, she reminded herself that bending the rules was necessary to mend the system. John, her trusted driver for years, remained silent as she directed him to follow Emily's old car with utmost discretion. As Emily drove into a gas station on the outskirts of Palm Beach, Karoline instructed John, "Stop here and keep the engine running." From her vantage point by the window, she observed Emily meticulously tallying coins, ensuring there was just enough to make it back home. As Emily settled the bill inside, she lingered by the bread rack, lost in thought, before departing without a single item. "Leavitt," John interjected, "I've recognized that expression. My sister wore it as well, torn between putting food on the table for her children and paying the electric bill." Karoline leaned in, curious about what had transpired. John caught her gaze in the rearview mirror. "A person entered her life and transformed it. That's why I'm here for you. I trust that you will take action when you notice something amiss." Before she had the chance to respond, Emily's car exited and they continued on through the dimming streets. Typically, Karoline would be busy preparing Trump's speech at this hour rather than following an employee through shadowy streets. "Maintain your distance, John," she instructed the driver. "We don't want to startle her." John made a slight adjustment to the mirror. "Miss Leavitt, it's quite unusual to see you engage with the staff on such a personal level." Karoline observed as Emily's Honda moved forward, its brake lights glowing softly, "Just like I haven't either." Her phone vibrated softly. Once more, it's Hannah. Months ago, Emily's credit score plummeted, leading to a loan denial and disqualifying her from better housing options. The situation became clearer, yet it burdened her heavily. Hannah sent another message. Emily's payments were linked to a specialized child care center in Palm Beach catering to critically ill children, with most costs not covered by insurance. Karoline's hold grew firmer. She was aware those locations where innovative treatments could rescue children yet were rejected by insurance companies due to expenses. She had proposed to Trump the idea of supporting such families during the campaign, but it was put on hold due to budgetary issues. As they departed Central Palm Beach, Emily navigated onto a boulevard adorned with convenience stores and pawn shops. The streetlights flickered and faded, becoming fewer and farther between. The phone rang, its shrill tone cutting through the silence. "Michael, Miss Leavitt, the clock is approaching midnight. I received a notification that someone has accessed Emily Carter's HR file." "Hello there. It's me," she declared. "Hold on, there are procedures to follow." "What is her compensation?" She interrupted, the sound of keys clattering, typical for her position, earning $60,000 annually with benefits, reliable, wouldn't you agree? Karoline inquired, her gaze fixed on Emily's vehicle at the dilapidated gas station. "Indeed," Michael responded, considering her experience. "So why is one of our top choices for counting coins used for gas?" She observed Emily inserting coins into the pump, the amount gradually increasing. "Should team members face challenges, we offer support programs." Michael remarked that those necessitate forms revealing their struggles. Karoline responded, observing Emily walk away, her shoulders drooping. "What is the number of users?" Yet another moment of stillness. "Less than 1%. What are your thoughts?" Just as Michael was about to respond, Emily's car began to move. "I've got to leave," she remarked. After ending the call, they stepped into a bleak neighborhood where the streets were in decay. "I'm familiar with this area," John said softly. "My sister resided here prior to the changes that unfolded. It's the destination for those seeking alternatives when all else fails." The streets of Outer Palm Beach lay shrouded in darkness, with homes bearing the weight of neglect. As they moved along, Karoline observed a remarkable truth. Even in the depths of poverty, a sense of dignity radiated. Small potted gardens flourished, wind chimes crafted from scrap metal chimed softly, and there were countless attempts to create beauty amidst the struggles. Emily's car decelerated as it navigated into Haven Oaks, a complex that had seen better days, now merely a ghost of its former self. A faint yellow sign illuminated the fractured concrete beneath it. "John, wait here," Karoline instructed as she stepped outside. "Miss Leavitt, this place is filled with good people who truly deserve more," John said, his voice barely above a whisper. She made a subtle adjustment to her coat. "That's everything I require to understand." From the shadows, she observed Emily as she unloaded campaign files, a laptop bag, and a small pouch that appeared to be medical. She advanced with a deliberate pace, each step heavy with the weight of time. As Emily ascended the outdoor stairs to the third floor, she took a moment to pause. Leaning against the railing, Karoline's hand quivered, battling the impulse to intervene. In the corridor on the third floor, Emily let her keys slip from her grasp, grumbling a curse under her breath as she stooped to retrieve them. Papers cascaded from her stack, dancing in the gentle breeze. One floated gently in Karoline's direction. She seized it just before it took flight. What she witnessed took her breath away, not voter data but an invoice from a child care center. $82,000 marked overdue, final notification. The creak of a door jolted her attention. Emily had disappeared into the depths, leaving Karoline solitary in the lot, clutching a paper that revealed everything and yet nothing at all. She ascended the stairs with deliberate slowness, her thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. That amount overshadowed Emily's annual salary despite her relentless work, residing in this rundown place and driving a vehicle older than some of the junior staff. In apartment 305, she hesitated. Through the delicate barriers, she caught the distant sound of a television, the rhythmic beeping of medical equipment, a feeble, unusual cough, and then Emily's gentle voice, apologizing to Ben, saying the break room had closed before she could make it out. "I'll create something for you right away." A delicate yet resolute voice responded, carrying a hint of innocence. "It's important for you to eat as well, you had quite a substantial lunch." Emily's deception caused a knot to form in Karoline's chest. She remembered Emily's heartfelt request for leftovers on the forum. "Emily Carter," the boy's voice took on a serious note. "I am your sibling. I can tell when your diet isn't on point. Hey, the new therapy is showing results, and that's what counts." "Not if it destroys me," he retorted. The stillness that ensued was thick with unexpressed sorrow. Karoline lifted her hand to knock but suddenly halted. What authority did she possess to interfere in this matter? Yet, her mother's words resonated in her mind. At times, what is truly right diverges from what is simple. She knocked, and the sounds within ceased abruptly. Carefully measured strides drew near. "Who is it?" Emily's voice concealed her fatigue. Karoline inhaled deeply. "Emily, this is Karoline Leavitt. I have something to discuss." Silence lingered as though Emily's heartbeat reverberated against the door. "Excuse me, Miss Leavitt?" Her voice trembled. "Is there an issue with my work?" "No, nothing's wrong," Karoline said. "I simply wish to engage in conversation." After a brief moment, the sound of the lock echoed in the silence. The door creaked ajar, unveiling Emily's visage, her eyes filled with a mix of bewilderment and trepidation. "I don't understand," she murmured. "What brings you here?" From within, a voice belonging to the boy called out. "Emmy? Who is that?" Emily summoned her composure. "It's just a neighbor, Ben, nothing to worry about." Yet his voice took on a sharper edge. "That voice doesn't belong to a neighbor. I caught it on television." Emily shut her eyes, and Karoline noticed the facade of professionalism begin to crumble. In this moment, she was not the skilled strategist, but a sister determined to rescue her brother. Upon opening her eyes, they revealed a blend of acceptance intertwined with a fierce sense of pride. "Come in," Emily said, her tone carrying a sense of formality, reminiscent of an important meeting at headquarters. With a swift motion, she flung the door open, and the scene that greeted Karoline left her utterly speechless. The apartment was tidy yet devoid of character. A child's bed surrounded by medical equipment takes center stage in the living room. Next to it was Ben Carter, slender and delicate, his eyes shining yet his body frail. "So you're the reason Emmy pushes herself to the limit?" Ben inquired, his voice soft yet piercing. Emily whispered softly. "Ben, allow me to introduce you to my supervisor, Miss Leavitt." Ben's eyes fixed on Karoline, and in that moment she understood the source of Emily's resilience. Ben paused, but Emily began to speak. He lifted a hand to signal her to stop. "If the press secretary is present at midnight, it must be for a significant purpose." He regarded Karoline, "Indeed, Miss Leavitt." Karoline surveyed the space. A folding table stacked high with campaign materials. A countertop adorned with various pill bottles. An isolated apple probably constitutes Emily's evening meal. "Indeed," she remarked, "I had a justification, yet now I realize it's not as significant as what I am observing." Ben motioned towards a weathered folding chair. "Take a seat and explain why you trailed my sister back to her place." Emily inhaled sharply. "You decided to follow me?" "Indeed." Karoline took a seat, locking eyes with Ben as an unsettling feeling lingered, compelling me to seek clarity. "Have you done so yet?" Ben inquired. Karoline retrieved the bill from her pocket. "I am beginning to." Emily's face drained of color. "Miss Leavitt, I can clarify." "Take your time," she interjected softly. "I'm eager to learn more about this effective therapy." Emily and Ben exchanged a glance, a lifetime of struggles captured in that instant. Ben expressed his thoughts. "This is a unique approach for my situation. Though insurance won't cover it due to its novelty, I'm finding strength in the challenge." "What is the price?" Karoline inquired, casting a glance at Emily. Emily raised her chin defiantly. "Every expense is justified." Those words encompassed it all: determination, fatigue, trepidation, and affection. Karoline had observed the staff complain about the pressures of the campaign, yet Emily Carter toiled tirelessly, enduring hardships, all to ensure her brother's survival. The truth struck her with the force of a blow. "Miss Leavitt," Emily's voice drew her attention once more. "Are you going to document this?" "What I'm referring to is my extra hours. I understand this goes against the campaign guidelines, but—" "Absolutely not," Karoline replied with conviction. "I won't bring it to attention, I'll take care of it myself." "What needs fixing?" Ben inquired, though his gaze suggested he was already aware. Karoline stood, her mind alive with a flurry of thoughts. "All things." However, she first retrieved her phone. "I am placing an order for food. Genuine nourishment, not leftover remnants from gatherings. As we enjoy our meal, we'll determine what adjustments are necessary for this team." Emily objected. "Miss Leavitt, this isn't something you must undertake." Indeed, she locked eyes with Emily. "If I don't address this properly, truly address it, it won't just affect you but everyone involved. What is the purpose of the movement we have created? Transforming a nation while neglecting those who contribute to its foundation is futile." Ben's expression softened, a genuine smile brightening his tired features. "It resembles the Miss Leavitt from television," he remarked. As Karoline finalized the order, a realization dawned on her. She had arrived in search of clarity regarding a single employee, yet uncovered a more profound reality. An eye-opening realization of the true essence of guiding a team through periods of change. The ensuing discussion, held over a late-night delivery, would not only transform Emily's life but also alter the dynamics of Trump's campaign team. However, that was something to address at a later time. In the cozy Haven Oaks apartment, 3 individuals gathered, beginning the process of healing what had been fractured. As the aroma of freshly delivered roast chicken filled the air, Karoline observed Emily's lingering gaze on Ben's medical equipment. Even in a moment intended for respite, her watchfulness remained unyielding. "This is truly excellent," Ben remarked, savoring each small bite, "though I suspect it exceeds our entire weekly grocery budget." Then Emily murmured, feeling a flush of embarrassment, yet he continued undeterred. "Miss Leavitt, is it common for you to accompany staff home at such late hours?" "No," Karoline admitted, setting her fork down for the first time. "So why my sister?" Just as she was about to respond, the medical equipment emitted a series of beeps. Emily leaped into action, swiftly checking readings and adjusting tubes with remarkable accuracy. She could have easily passed for a doctor, Ben observed quietly, his gaze fixed on her. She excelled academically, shining brightly among her peers, yet the high costs of medical school led her to pursue a different path in the campaign instead. A moment of silence, quite amusing, Ben continued. "She chose an alternative route to steer clear of medical debt, and yet here we find ourselves." "Ben, stop," Emily said, making her way back to her seat. "Miss Leavitt is not required to know this." "I believe I do." Karoline leaned in, eager to hear about this therapy. Emily and Ben exchanged a glance, a lifetime of hardship reflected in their eyes. At last, Emily seized a hefty file from a nearby table. She elaborated on the specific treatment for Ben's condition, retrieving documents from her bag. They employ innovative technology to enhance his immune system. It demonstrates potential outcomes, yet due to its experimental nature, insurance remains uninterested. "Not a single cent," Ben confirmed. "They deem it superfluous, as if existence is a choice." Initially, the payment plan offered by the center was quite feasible. Emily pressed on, laying out the bills across the table. "I tapped into my savings, sold my car, and the one I managed to buy back was all within my budget. I relocated here and trimmed down on all non-essential expenses." Ben interrupted, "Reveal your hands to her." "Ben, please," Emily pleaded, but he was adamant, urging her to reveal it. With a hint of hesitation, Emily reached out her hands. In the glow of the apartment, Karoline noticed them, vivid and tender. During breaks, she tidies up the desks at HQ. Ben explained, his voice trembling, as a whole day on the campaign still feels insufficient. Karoline felt a constriction in her chest. She inquired if your entire salary is devoted to therapy. Emily gave a slight nod. "The cleaning job takes care of food and rent on most days." She remembered Emily's request for leftovers, and it all made sense now. "But the therapy is making progress," Emily interjected hastily, as though she dreaded disapproval. "Present her with the most recent outcomes, Ben." He presented a sheet, a chart showcasing evident progress. "The doctor has indicated an additional 6 months." Emily's voice faltered. "6 months, that will shatter you," Ben interjected. "I prefer to allow it to unfold naturally rather than witness your self-destruction." "Ben, we've discussed this before," Emily stated. "No, you speak while I observe, watching you deteriorate, drained from neglecting meals and working tirelessly. This isn't truly living, Emmy." "Yet," she replied, "you're improving. Isn't it truly worthwhile?" This debate had undoubtedly unfolded in the past. Karoline observed Emily massaging her temples, a familiar action she had witnessed on screen. "When was the last time you slept for more than 4 hours?" she inquired. Emily recoiled. "I'm not entirely certain, perhaps it was last weekend." "Have a nutritious meal?" Emily averted her gaze. "Protein bars are sitting on my desk. Consider taking a day off." "The therapy doesn't take days off," she replied softly. Ben took hold of her hand. "Share with her the details of the promotion you decided to decline." "Which promotion are you referring to?" Karoline inquired with a cutting tone. Emily paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. 3 weeks ago, I was offered a position as the data team lead, but it involved night training, so I declined to avoid adding to her burnout hours." Ben remarked. "I had no choice," Emily stated. "There is always a decision to be made, Emmy." Ben responded. "Even those that seem utterly unattainable, such as granting me freedom." Emily paced back and forth. "Observe as you succumb to this, for we lack the means to access the sole effective treatment. That's the decision you wish for me to take." The device emitted another beep, prompting Emily to check it instinctively. Actions meticulously executed to highlight unmistakable fatigue. "Miss Leavitt," Ben remarked as she was engrossed in her work. "Understand the most challenging aspect of caring for a loved one who is unwell. Observing their struggle to balance well-being and wealth. Witnessing a family fracture not due to health issues but financial strain." He waved his hand to indicate the surroundings. "I have observed my sister confront a daunting decision that countless others have encountered." Emily came back, her hands quivering just a bit. The doctor mentioned that his body is responding better than anticipated, she murmured, almost to herself. Only 6 more months to go, I can manage it. How should we handle this? Karoline inquired softly.